BTEC Apprenticeship Assessment Workbooks are mapped to the key components of the apprenticeship framework, except for functional skills. This includes the MVQ appropriate to the sector and appropriate level, the BTEC, which is the technical certificate, the work skills, which also include the employer's rights and responsibilities, and the personal learning and thinking skills. The workbook follows a format following 4 different types of assessment. The first being knowledge and understanding, where all the assessment criteria attached to the knowledge that the learner needs for the whole of the framework is covered in those sections. Following that, we have evidence gathering, and that's where performance evidence and product evidence can be gathered by the learner, and it gives some specific descriptions on the type of evidence that the learner could collect for that part of the appropriate qualifications. The third thing is putting it into practice, and that is where the assessor would observe the learner. And again, there is some direction around exactly what the assessor would want to observe with the learner, and the learner has this so that they can prepare in advance exactly what they would need to be doing in terms of tasks for that observation. Finally, we have the professional discussion, and that is for the assessor to carry out. And again, it covers different bullet points which the assessor can discuss with the learner in advance of the professional discussion, so that there is preparation taking place throughout. The workbooks then, because they've been designed to assist you in assessment for the delivery of this. The approach of the workbooks is very much that they're holistic. Now, it does go through a format, okay, and the format is that there's question answers, there's opportunity for evidence to be gathered by the learner, then there are professional discussions, and there's observations, and it follows a format throughout the workbooks. Okay. Now, those are 4 methods of assessment, but as you know, they're not the only 4 methods of assessment. So what is also really important is that you continue to use the other methods of assessment, like witness testimonies, like candidate statements. And I know in health and social care, there's an awful lot of candidate statements that are used. And I would expect you to continue to use that, because it might not be appropriate for observations in certain sectors where confidentiality is important, for instance. When we were originally given the brief to write these assessment workbooks, we were asked to do it around 5 to 6 assessment visits. Okay, and that was when maybe a level 2 apprenticeship might be delivered in 6 months. Okay, now a lot of centres are saying, well, what does that mean now then? Do we visit every other month? How do we do it? What I would say to you is take the word assessment visit out of your mind and instead put in intervention. Okay, so there's 6 interventions within this workbook, but again, if you want to separate those out and make them smaller interventions, then there's no reason why you can't, so that instead of 6 you might have 12, because you've now divided them by 2, each one of them. And when we're looking at now how we're going to develop these workbooks and take them forward, and one of my recommendations is that we take the word visit out, because what I'm finding with a lot of centres, and also I do this myself in my own assessment practice, is that some assessments I actually don't meet the learners face to face. They send me stuff now via email, and that is still an assessment taking place. It's just that we're not looking at each other, we're not sat down around a table together, and that is still an assessment intervention happening. So particularly around a lot of knowledge, question and answer, why can't you accept things either via email from your learners if it's written questions? The other thing I do quite a lot of is I actually do professional discussions and question and answering over the phone. And I put my phone on loudspeaker, I've got a recorder, and I might take some notes, and it works. And I can hear the learner can hear me, and we have those discussions, we have those question and answer sessions. So there's no reason why you can't use those assessment methods within the workbooks. At the beginning of the workbooks, you've also got a list of the units that are covered here. The mandatory units will be there for the MVQ, certificate or diploma, and for the technical certificate, and then the most used claim certificates for the optional units, because we couldn't put all the optional units in because some sectors have got lots and lots of optional units. We've used the most commonly registered and certificated optional units. If you find you've got a workbook and the optional units are not the ones you're going to be using, That's fine. Just take out what you don't want. It might be that some of the activities you can still use, but you need to remap it, or you might want to create some new assessment opportunities in total. Okay. And for those where there isn't an assessment workbook, there's no reason why you can't use the same principle as these workbooks, so that you capture what you want in those.